There are thousands of creatures on this earth. Many are known to humankind, and there would be thousands that are still unknown. There is life above and below waters, and every creature has its world and territory. Talking about the animals below water, some animals are very famous, such as different types of fish, dolphins, sharks, seahorses, and many more. The life below the water is mysterious as well as amazing. You must have heard different stories related to animals who live below water. That life has always been a source of attraction for humans. That's why you find a lot of research on water animals. There are different animals that live under the sea. The most common is known as the fish family. And the reason is, we humans are fond of eating fish. It's not only a delicious meal, but also very healthy. Besides fish, there are also many other creatures. Most of them are harmless, but some water animals are pretty hazardous, and one such animal is the shark. The shark is one of the most dangerous animals living under the water. Sharks are so famous that you'll find many books, stories, and movies on the topic. You must have heard different stories about sharks, how precarious they are, and how they attack human beings. Many films have also been made on the same topic, where sharks are depicted as humans' enemies. But when I say this is not real, and these are all made-up stories, sharks are not as dangerous as they're perceived. If we look at the facts, we'll come to know that in the history of humankind, more deaths occurred because of the fall of coconuts compared to shark attacks on humans. There are a few such cases, but the media and people have exaggerated them, and everyone thinks that sharks are very dangerous and they're humans' enemies. People are afraid of this predatory animal, but that's not always the case. These animals are very kind and harmless if they're treated well. If you mistreat anyone, they'll retaliate. The same goes for animals. You must be wondering why I'm emphasizing on sharks being harmless and innocent. Because I'm going to tell you a story that will surprise you and will completely change your perception of these animals. This story will open so many doors for you, and you'll be compelled to think about how your behavior will change others, even if they go against their nature, as the beautiful white shark did in this story. The story is about a fisherman and his kind gesture towards an innocent creature that turned out to be an example for the world. Arnold was an Australian fisherman whose job was to catch fish. Through fishing, he earned his living. Fishing was not only his job, but his hobby and passion. Fishing was something that made him happy and content. He used to take his boat and go on fishing in the sea. He used to spend hours in the sea catching fish. Fishing always gave him happiness. He used to enjoy his profession, and that's why he's the best fisherman in the region. When you love your job, you do it with so much dedication and hard work that you become an expert at it. The same is the case with Arnold. He was one of the best famous fishermen in Australia. It was the usual day for Arnold when he was out fishing. He wanted to catch some good fish that day and went far into the sea. He had a boat that he specifically used for boating. The boat had all the tools and equipment that were required for boating. On that sunny and bright day, he was boating in the sea, searching for fish, when suddenly he saw a huge thing in the sea. He couldn't figure out what it was. At first, he got scared and hesitated to go near that huge thing. But then his curiosity made him go there. When he reached there, he noticed something different. At first, he thought some fish might be caught in the net, but he was surprised when he saw that there were no fish, but something else. When he went closer, he was staggered to see a huge shark caught in the net. The shark was about 5.5 meters long. He'd never seen such a huge animal in his life, and that too, a shark. Arnold had heard stories about sharks' brutality. He feared getting closer to it because he thought the shark would attack him. But at the same time, he wanted to help the poor animal. Arnold was a very kind-hearted person. He couldn't see the shark in this condition and decided to help. The shark was in pain and struggling to escape the net somehow. It was difficult for the poor animal, and all her efforts were wasted. Arnold got so upset when he saw the shark in such a condition, He wanted to help her, but he wasn't sure how he could set her free. He was thinking of ways how he could save the shark. What could be the possible ways to set the animal free? How can he do this in his limited time? Not only time, but resources were also limited. At that moment, he was so confused. He wanted to save the shark and set her free in the sea again. He couldn't figure out how, but he was determined and didn't want to leave the shark there alone. He thought that if he went and someone else came and took the shark with them, or could they also kill her? At first, he thought he'd jump into the water and cut the net, but that was risky, as it was a predatory animal that could attack him at any time. He couldn't call anyone for help. At least, he got all his courage and took the boat closer to the net. While thinking about how he could save the shark, suddenly, he recalled that he had a long iron stick in the boat, which he had kept for fishing. The iron stick was a blessing in disguise for him. That was the only tool he could use to get the shark out of the net. He decided to use that stick to set the animal free. He went closer to the net and tried to set the shark free. He took some time, but finally, he succeeded in his mission. The shark was free and could go back into the water. At that time, Arnold was so happy. He was delighted that the animal would go back to its world. But what happened next was very surprising. Instead of going into the water, the shark started to follow Arnold's boat. She followed him in the sea and even to the sea coast. Arnold wasn't able to understand, what does that mean? And why is the shark following him? He got scared as well, but the gestures of the shark were so kind and loving that all his fears vanished. He realized that the shark didn't want to harm him. A few days after the incident, when Arnold again went fishing, he saw the same shark following him everywhere in the sea. Now the fisherman was sure that the shark wanted to thank him, and this was possibly her way of thanking him for saving her life. The shark had delivered the message that she was thankful for the fisherman's kindness and that she was fond of him. It was kind of paying tribute to its well-wisher. It was a routine for Arnold after that. Whenever he'd go fishing, the shark would always follow him, because the shark would always be around Arnold's boat. Other fish and creatures would run away from there because of the presence of the shark, and Arnold couldn't catch anything that day. But he wasn't angry at all. He was in fact happy that he got a good and sincere friend in the sea. They both used to spend time together and enjoyed each other's company. It might sound weird, but this is how everything happened. And it's possible because animals also have emotions and feelings, and they have their ways of expressing their love for others. The shark would only swim around Arnold's boat, but also used to jump whenever she saw Arnold. She'd come so close to the boat and would greet him. She even let the fisherman touch her nose. She would smile whenever she saw the fisherman's boat. Those were such great and precious moments. This is how their friendship was. Because of the shark, Arnold couldn't catch any fish, but he never got disappointed or angry, because he had a friend now who would give him lots of happiness when he'd go into the sea.